Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Army of Thieves, which is a prequel to the Army of the Dead film released earlier this year. This one focuses on Ludwig Dieter, aka Sebastian. He's the safecracker from Army of the Dead, and this tells us his prequel story in a fashion that is essentially a big heist film that shows off why I think Ludwig is one of the best characters from Army of the Dead, and it also happens to give us an ensemble of characters that are honestly more entertaining in some ways than the ones from the original Army of the Dead. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story follows Ludwig Dieter, when he was previously just known as Sebastian, who lives a somewhat boring life in Germany, despite his incredible safecracking skills. But when he's invited to a safecracking competition underground and wins said competition, he gets the attention of a mysterious woman named Gwendolyn, who happens to recruit him for a mission to crack three safes that were all made by Hans Wagner, the exact same man who made the safe that was cracked in Army of the Dead. So Ludwig has to work with a team of specialists in order to go around the world and crack these three extremely difficult safes, all while being tracked down by Interpol. But that's all I'll say about the story. The story here happens to essentially go through the heist film formula of coming up with various plans to get to these safes. There's betrayals, there's controversy, there's violence, and there's some great music cues as well. So it certainly doesn't reinvent the heist film genre, but Matthias Schweighöfer, the man who plays Ludwig Dieter, does a great job behind the camera and as Dieter himself. He's very quirky, he's got a lot of charm, and a lot of the performance is very infectious, which is part of why I think he stood out to so many people in the first film. On top of that, you can really tell that this film has not only a love for heist films, but also happens to use its setting for Army of the Dead to show that it can tell more stories than just a zombie apocalypse thriller. It can if they continue to do prequel stories about all the characters, it actually makes Army of the Dead a bit more meaningful in its own way, considering that the safe in that film was the fourth and final one that was created by Hans Wagner. So you could say the three safes that he cracks in this film were all just a lead up to his ultimate goal, to his ultimate accomplishment in that film. So in some respects, you can sort of see how this film kind of makes Army of the Dead better when you see them back to back now. On top of that, I like the sense of humor in this film. It really feels like, even though the story was done by Zack Snyder, it feels like other people are just better at writing dialogue and better at writing characters than he is, which is probably why I enjoy more of the films that he produces or does the story for rather than directs. And Schweighöfer certainly has an eye for action and an eye for interesting details, especially in the safe cracking scenes. But the rest of the cast does a really good job too. Gwendolyn's a fun character, even with her traits that are similar to many other women in the genre. There's one guy named Brad Cage who basically ends up as every American action hero done in the most antagonistic way possible, and even the Interpol agents are pretty fun when it comes to their interactions. It's certainly not gonna win you over if you didn't like Army of the Dead, but for those who did, it's a prequel story that I think is definitely worth cracking into. That's why I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. See you next time.